upset a lot of Arsenal fans, but if they win the league this year, I think they'll be the weakest champions for a long time because they've got the weakest teams chasing them. You know, the teams that are in second and third aren't the classic, challengers. This Arsenal side are nowhere near the Liverpool sides that have won it, the City sides. I mean, even the Leicester side that won it in 2016, I think they give this Arsenal side a run for the money. So, but they're going to win it, so the Arsenal fans won't care, will they? They won't care if they're not champagne football like the Invincibles. If they win the title, it doesn't matter. But they're winning it because they're so far clear because of the failings of others rather than because of their excellent play or performances themselves.
Weakest champions in a long time. They're only winning it because there's no other good teams in the league. Leicester of 2016 would give them a run for their money. What are you saying to that?
I'm just having a quick look. So 50 points and 43 points are the top two this year. And then last year we had 51 points and 44. So there's not a massive amount of difference in the points between the first and the second teams after 22 games compared to last year. And Liverpool were good last year. But I think we've probably got a repetition of last year, if I'm being honest, where there's one team that's just better than everybody else. I mean, Arsenal literally have got the same points in second place this time last year as Man City have got now. And Arsenal weren't worthy champions and neither are Man City. So my personal feeling is there's an erosion of quality in the Premier League that's been going on for quite a while. We throw out, and it's live, and it's the best league in the world. It's the richest league in the world. It's the most watched league in the world. I don't think it's the best league in the world at all, especially having spent time watching the Bundesliga this year. They get a lot more goals and the ball's in play a lot more, and not everybody's chucking long throw-ins into the box and focusing on corners. So I think the big problem with the Premier League, and it's not Arsenal's problem, is that the quality is so bad. I saw something yesterday that we've had more 0-0s in the Premier League this season than we had in the entirety of last season, and it's only the middle of January. The problem we've got is that every kickoff, everyone boots it long. Everyone wants to do long throw-ins. Everyone's focused on corners because there's so many data analysts in the Premier League now that they're going, percentage-wise, this, that, and the other, and we're not seeing as many worldies. That's why we loved the goal that Fulham scored against Liverpool. We're not seeing as many individual dribbles because there's more chance of you're going to lose the ball. Everybody's become really robotic. I watched Forest against Arsenal, Newcastle Wolves, Villa Everton. I should have watched one, and then because they were all the same. A team playing deep and another team trying to break them down in very, very boring games of football. And the problem is most teams are quite similar. That's why we're getting a lot of shocks. That's why Burnley are going to Liverpool. That's why, United are drawing to Wolves. That's why, Wolves nearly got a result against Arsenal, because everybody's playing the same way. And there's a more dominant team than there's a defensive team. And it's just who's going to be that this week. And we saw it with Man United a little bit, but obviously it was a more entertaining game because Man City had a crap defense and played probably a little bit too open and we were so fast. But ultimately that was a defensive team against an attacking team. I just think the quality of the Premier League is quite bad at the moment. And I think there's an identity crisis. And I think everybody's playing the same way. And the problem is when you've got like a Sir Alex Ferguson or a Wenger or a Pep, and they've got or a Klopp, and they've got a style of football that no one can deal with, you have a better league. But when you've got what Arsenal are doing and everyone else can go, well, we can play corners like that. We can do long throw-ins like that. That's not out of the realms of possibility for Burnley. And I think we've just ended up with a league that's quite boring to watch. So it's not Arsenal's fault. But we desperately need to go back to more flair and individualism and creativity because everyone's just playing the same way. Everyone does the same kickoff. It's boring.
So I'm not against more flair and more creativity being in the league. At the same time, I feel the floor has risen in the Premier League, though. We saw last season, the two teams in the Europa League final came 15th and 17th, respectively, in the Premier League. This season, when you look at the table, although they've not been on good winning runs, going away to Bournemouth right now, as an example, going away to a Crystal Palace right now, going away to Brighton, who are 12th in the league, even going away to Nottingham Forest, as we saw at the weekend, they're hard places to go and win, even though they're lower down the league. So I think it's a very difficult league to win games in. In fact, I saw this that came out today that no current Premier League team has won 2 games in a row. Lots of draws. Lots of teams winning one week and then losing the next week because there's a lot of parity in the league now. And I think part of this is a symptom of what many of us were asking for years, is that we don't just want a top 4 that run away with the league. We don't just want 4 or 5 teams that are much better than everybody else, and then it's basically a scrap between everybody else.
Crap though.
Who stays up? No, but I understand. But I understand that some people will see it that way. I actually quite enjoy the games because I think they're quite close. Like the Wolves Newcastle game, I didn't feel the game was crap. I thought it was I enjoyed the fact it was 0-0 and it was really tight and both teams were trying to win the game. But equally, football's just gone through this period where there's so much parity in the game now. Teams that are much smaller can keep hold of their better players for longer because they're not forced into selling to the richer clubs because the TV money is so high. And I think we've almost created this element. But
how many teams have been to Arsenal this season? How many teams have been to Arsenal this season, parked the bus, and Arsenal have to rely on a corner?
But that's because.
So I don't think the teams at the bottom are getting any better by playing. I think you're right in a sense, but I don't think they're getting better because they're coming up and playing good football. I think they're getting better because they're playing a brand of. They're playing. It's like watching Wimbledon and Stoke. Everyone's playing Wimbledon and Stoke football. So, it's like let's just be powerful. Yeah. Let's be physical. Let's be well organised. Let's focus on the fine margin percentage plays of free kicks and corners and long throw-ins. I don't see good. I mean, look, I grew up watching football in the early 90s, and people like Matt Letizia, Rob Lee, King Clancy, all these individualistic players that could score good goals. It's just about it's too data analytical.
So I understand that side of things, but equally the reason teams are doing this is at the same breath people talk about all that matters in football is winning and staying in the league and staying in the league and winning. And I don't think this has ever been any different. A coach's job is not to entertain the masses. Wolves' job, Forest's job, Newcastle's job isn't to go, is Terry Flewis and Mark Goldberry is going to be entertained by this game. Their job is to try and win, and they have to view the other teams. Now, I think when a lot of the teams that are outside the top 3 or 4 play each other, I do see attacking football. It's just a lot of data analysing, a lot of information about each other to know how to nullify each other is there, which makes it a bit more of a chess game. But with Arsenal, you are right. And Arsenal have been given so much stick this year for not being entertaining. And the stats came out today that just show that the defensive lines against Arsenal are not just deeper than every other team, they are massively deeper than any other side, which makes it harder for Arsenal to attack and score. So in terms of this clip and looking at this around Arsenal weak champions, this Arsenal team is as good as nearly any team that's won the league title in the last decade or so. The difference is more teams now are sitting deeper against them and not coming out and playing than ever before. Equally, it isn't Arsenal's fault that City's recruitment in the last 2 or 3 years hasn't been good enough. It isn't Arsenal's fault that Pep Guardiola has not been able to adapt to the change in football, which is more teams sitting back, but equally while sitting back, having brilliant, powerful players on the counter-attack that can hurt you. The reason Man United beat them, yes, Carrick did a great job. Holland did a great job. The coaching, back to basics, great. But the fact that Pep hasn't worked out a way of playing his football, but not being consistently vulnerable to a counter-attack, I don't think Arsenal should have their potential title diminished because Pep Guardiola hasn't worked out how to stop counter-attacks.
That game could have been easily 5-0 to United and we still would have had 30% possession. How do you lose 5-0 when you've had 70% possession? And you're right, it's because he hasn't figured it out. But Arsenal have. And like Damien says, Mark's wrong. More internationals, more money in the league now compared to the 2000s. Lower teams are buying from big European teams, shows the quality increase. Well, I disagree. I don't think there's a quality increase at all. That's my whole point. I'm probably older than you, Damien. I remember Wimbledon in the 90s. I remember Stoke, and it makes me sick to see people drying a ball to launch it in the box with a long throw-in, or fouling goalkeepers to get little deflections to score from corners. And ultimately, that ends up being the winning goal, because there's multiple times Arsenal this season have won a game where the opposition have had no shots on goal, and they win it from a corner where there's a bit of a push or there's a bit of a deflection. That's not football. That's not entertaining. I'm sorry. No shots on target from the opposition because they're parking the bus, and Arsenal need to find a way to score from a corner. It's brilliant from Arteta. And if you're Arsenal, I'm not criticising you. It's brilliant from Arteta to find a way to beat these teams. But it's crap football. It's boring. And it's not. I don't think Arsenal want to play that way. I don't.
So I understand that. The issue I have is that it's being twisted into they're not worthy champions. And Arsenal are rubbish and boring. And that's what I think. I don't think if you don't find it entertaining, That's fair. But this is the only way teams can stop the likes of Arsenal. Equally, if Pep could adjust, and someone here makes an interesting comment saying, Terry, you once said that Pep's football was boring. Yeah, Pep's teams at their absolute best, I did find boring to watch because there was no jeopardy in the game. So I love watching Pep's City play now from an entertainment perspective because there's jeopardy in the game and you go, oh, something could happen here because they're susceptible. When Arsenal are playing, teams don't even commit very often to their counterattacks because they're too scared to leave space in behind. No one's that scared of City anymore. So entertainment-wise, I prefer the game. But there's a difference between being entertained. There can be games that finish 5-5 that are entertaining, but the football's awful because there's mistakes everywhere and holes everywhere. I think there's a difference in those things. As casuals versus football fans. Same, I'm a fight fan. There are some boxing bouts. There are some MMA bouts where I see people on Twitter. That was boring. Oh, that was meant to be the main event on the UFC. That's boring. That's because you don't understand grappling. You don't understand wrestling. You don't understand takedowns. All you want to see is a bloodbath and loads of arms being swung. That's a casual approach, and that's fine to have. But on Arsenal, I will say this as well. Final point I'm going to make on this. When City were the Centurions, this is why I don't like this narrative because of the chasing pack isn't very good. When the Centurions happened, they won the league by an absolute country mile that season. The chasing pack weren't on dissimilar points now to what the Cities and the like are at 22 games as the City and the like are on now. But when they won that league title that year, everybody was like, wow, look how amazing this City team are. They won it at a canter. Man United were the second best team. We were 20 points up, 19 points off them, got knocked out early in the Champions League, awful season. You had Spurs coming third in the league. Liverpool were fourth and 25 points behind them. Chelsea and Arsenal coming fifth and sixth. By the way, Arsenal losing 13 games that year. Chelsea losing 10 games that year. Liverpool drawing 12 games that year. Yet no one turned around and went, well, they're only Centurions because the Man United, the Chelseas, the Arsenals and the Liverpools were nowhere near their normal standard. Because we just celebrated City for being good at what they were. I don't like what we're now starting to do in the 2020s, where when everyone stopped, we did it to Liverpool last year. People did. People start trying to win things now. It's like, right, how can we diminish this trophy by saying the quality was bad or they shouldn't be in here or this is the only reason I don't like it. For me, that's the element I push back against, and it's the sort of diminishing the potential champions because rivals might go, I'm going to join in to slag off Liverpool or Arsenal. Bruv, it's going to be used against your team when you do it. And I don't like these dangerous narratives personally, but that's just me. Give us your views below, people. I'd love to get your take on what Mark Ogden has said in relation to weak champions if Arsenal are to win the league. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and you're subscribing as well. Mark, listen, always a pleasure to sit and speak football with you every Tuesday. United stand 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock, I would assume, today.
Yeah. Champions League nights, isn't it, for the next two? Nice to have that back.
Yeah, I can't wait. Big Champions League games tonight as well. We're live after the Champions League games, plus straight facts this afternoon at 3:30. So watch the United stand and then tune into the Football Terrace at 3:30. Be a great afternoon for you. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we're going to see you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye.